You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Let's talk about HBCUs in Maryland. The coalition advocating for Maryland's 4 historically black universities, the public universities, they've had a 13-year-old lawsuit with the state claiming the state's university system long fostered segregation by allowing well-funded academic programs at traditionally white universities to undermine similar ones at Morgan State, Coppin State, Bowie State, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Now, let me explain what was happening here. At a certain point, there were majors being offered by the HBCUs that were not being offered by the traditionally white universities. What ended up happening was a significant number of white students were going to the HBCUs for those majors. Guess what? The predominantly white schools saw that and said, hey, we're going to create duplicate degree programs. What do you think the white students did? Went to the schools that had better buildings and more resources. 2013 court decision and appeal found that Maryland did perpetuate segregation and that the two parties should settle. Well, the latest court-ordered mediation in July ended without any resolution. Now, the HBCU coalition sent a letter to elected officials offering to settle its 13-year-old lawsuit against the state for $577 million at the beginning of this month. Well, last week on Thursday, Governor Larry Hogan made what he called a final offer of $200 million to settle the longstanding lawsuit. Now, let me explain to y'all. $200 million over 10 years for public universities, meaning Coppin State, Bowie State, Morgan State, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, if this Larry Hogan deal is accepted, will get $5 million each for the next 10 years. Now, the parties can't reach an agreement. The case's future lies with the Federal Appeals Court. Joining me right now is Kristen Clark, President and Executive Director, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. They have been the ones involved in this lawsuit. And so we talked this morning on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, Kristen, and we talked about a similar case that took place in Mississippi. So explain to folks what that case and how much that settlement was 20 years ago compared to what Hogan is trying to offer.
Yeah. So the Mississippi case was resolved 20 years ago. It involved the way that the state funded and treated the 3 HBCUs in that state. Very similar facts. The court found that the state's poor treatment and poor funding of the HBCUs essentially resulted in a constitutional violation. And the state had to step up and adequately fund those HBCUs. Interestingly enough, Mississippi, a much poorer state than Maryland, put forth $516 million 2 decades ago to resolve the claims in that case. You translate that into modern day dollars, it's $791 million.
So $791 million in modern day numbers.
For 3 HBCUs.
And we're talking about 4 here.
That's right.
And they're offering $200 million.
That's right.
Now, the HBCUs in Maryland initially wanted around $1 billion or so. Where did the 577 come from? Was that just, where did that come from?
Look, we're 13 years into this battle, and what we want is justice for HBCUs in Maryland, justice for the citizens of Maryland. So we are willing to resolve our longstanding claims at a lower figure, but not for the $200 million amount that's been put forth by Governor Hogan. That is laughable and a number that he knows that he does not advance in good faith. A year ago, the state actually put forth $100 million.
Good Lord.
Even more laughable. But at the same time, they acknowledge that it really would take $1 billion to fix the problem. What we need is real equity between the HBCUs and the traditionally white institutions, and it's going to take real investments to make that happen. We need to use this money to invest in faculty. We need to use this money to invest in offering up new programs at HBCUs so they can attract robust applicant pools and more racially diverse applicant pools. We need to give that money so that they can promote their programs and offer up scholarships to students. So it is time for the governor of Maryland to do the right thing here, put a real figure on the table, And if not, then we need the state legislature to step up.
And that's the thing for me. First of all, the Maryland legislature meets 90 days a year, the beginning of the year. What I'm trying to understand is Democrats control the legislature in Maryland. Why haven't they introduced a bill? Why in the hell are they waiting on the governor? They don't have to wait on the governor.
That's a good question. And now is the time for people to raise their voices and make some noise. They should reach out to the Speaker of the Maryland Senate, Adrian Jones. They should reach out to the Senate President and ask the legislature why they aren't using their power to appropriate adequate funding to remedy the harm in this case.
And let me say this here. There are people who are commenting, I see right now, on YouTube and Facebook, and they're saying, well, you know, here are the proposals from Senator Kamala Harris and others for HBCUs. What they don't understand is we're talking about state universities.
Yeah. That's right.
And we're not talking about waiting for the federal government. Because, first of all, you can be Senator Kamala Harris or any Democratic presidential candidate. You can promise all the HBCU funding you want, but it still has to get approved and appropriated by Congress and signed into law. The reality is these states should be funding these schools. Same as in North Carolina, just like Mississippi, same as in Texas, same as in, all the places where you have public HBCUs. Black people are taxpayers in these states.
That's right. And look, our HBCUs are an important part of America's story. They're an important part of our educational landscape. And in 2013, a federal judge found that the state of Maryland did not do right by the 4 HBCUs in that state. A federal court found that the state maintained 2 separate systems, one for black students and one for white students. And for the last 6 years, Maryland should have been working on putting together the funding needed to address this, and instead they're fighting. It is a travesty. It is a shame. I don't know if they think we're going away, but we've been fighting for 13 years, and we will keep fighting because the people of Maryland deserve justice and the HBCUs deserve justice.
Julianne, what is bothersome to me about this story, and we've covered it for years. Again, Democrats control the Maryland legislature. And I tweeted this out, and I said, how in the hell can the NAACP be headquartered in Baltimore? How can you have Divine Nine fraternities and sororities? You got the UNCF and Thurgood Marshall Fund. I don't recall there being a mass demonstration in Maryland demanding equity. The lawyers are doing their job. I'm like, where in the hell is the public pressure of individuals saying, yeah, we're going to go to the Annapolis, the state capitol, in our fraternity colors, in our sorority colors, or if we in no fraternity or sorority, demanding equity in a state that has, if I'm correct, Maryland has the 3rd highest concentration of black folks out of any state in the union.
Roland, you raised the question. It's the appropriate question. I'm not sure what's wrong with black people. That's all I have to say. I'm not sure what's wrong with black people. Really, you have these black state legislators. Many of them are alums of these universities. You have alums of Coppin and Morgan. You have Kwesi Mfume and Brother Cummings and all these other people. And nobody has, I love them all, but nobody has put their foot down and said, "Pluck the dumb spit." And I didn't curse, "Pluck the dumb spit. This needs to be different." And it's really disgusting, in my perspective, to see the way that Hogan is up. My final offer, dude, you don't get to make a final offer when you're talking about
$200 million.
Yes, of a third of what's being asked for, a third, and really 20% of what is equal. So the question is, where is our gravitas? Where is our commitment to our own education? When do we really put our foot down and say no to the no, to the no, to the no? And your other point, Roland, which is so important, is that we talk about federal solutions to the gaps with HBCUs, but we have Texas and North Carolina each have 10 HBCUs, more than any other state. Where are those state legislatures where you have people? These are not federal solutions. These are state solutions. We are taxpayers. We paid our tax money, and our tax money has not gone to feed and fuel our institutions. Forgive me for getting all whatever.
Hogan is a Republican. You got a Democratically controlled legislature. and you got both, frankly, who are falling short.
I agree with you 100%. Thing about it is, I look at it as an opportunity. Someone should have been organized and lobbied on behalf of these HBCUs for this money. And so...
well, no. First of all, that's been happening. First, okay. I can tell you that you've had political pressure. You've had, while the lawyers were doing their thing, you've had the Black Caucus, and the Black Caucus has already said that there's $200 million is unacceptable. You had that, but to me, that's the inside game. That's the inside game.
Yes.
The inside game gotta have the outside game, because see, when the outside folks are outside the door, about to knock the door down, inside is saying, look, y'all might want to deal with us, because see, if they get inside here, this thing is going to agree. So I'm just trying to understand, and I'm saying right now to NAACP, how in the hell can you be headquartered in Baltimore? And there has not been a mass mobilization in Maryland leading people to the state capitol to demand this be done. That to me, and look, and I tweeted out earlier, where in the hell is the NAACP and the National Urban League and the National Action Network and Rainbow Push and the UNCF and the Thurgood Marshall Fund and Alpha and Delta and AKA and Kappas and Omegas and Sigmas and Zetas and Iotas? The Divine Nine alone has 2 million members. Do understand, if each president sent an email out saying to every member, call this number, they could completely shut down a switchboard in Maryland. Hell, they wouldn't repair it for a week. And I'm sitting here going, how is it you're not saying, you know what,
that's what I'm saying.
We should be doing that. Look, do you understand, y'all? Does y'all understand? This morning, I've already texted the Alpha president, who's also the president of the Divine Nine. Just so y'all know. I've already texted the Delta president. I've already texted the AKA president. Just so y'all know. And Derrick with the NAACP, and Morial with the Urban League, and Sharpton, Reverend Jackson, y'all getting y'all text messages tonight. Avis, go ahead. We're talking about what should be $1 billion.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
at least.
But you're right.
Avis, go ahead.
You're exactly right. Here's the thing. We have to understand that we have power in this situation, and to not sleep on our own power. What you are sort of laying out here is absolutely correct. There are so many of us who are direct beneficiaries of the educations that we received at HBCUs, or our parents were, or we have children who are, or siblings who are. We know how important this is to our community. We also know, if you just look at the statistics in terms of who actually graduates and gets into professional positions, if they are Black, they are disproportionately graduates of Black institutions and not white institutions. Let's just be very real about that. So the contribution that these institutions make to larger society is profound and unmatched. And it is our responsibility to stand up and fight for those institutions in an organized way, but also, I think, in a very strategic way in terms of not only maximizing the outside, but also doing some more strategy in terms of the inside lobbying as well. I have to agree with that. I don't think they've been getting enough pressure on the inside or the outside.
So, Christian, when you hit me this weekend, you said, like, this week. So is there a deadline, and then what's next?
Yeah, I mean, look, we won the case in 2013 handily.
So hold on, y'all won in 2013, and y'all have been negotiating for 6 years?
And then the judge actually had a trial on the remedy and said, here, you know, we need real funding.
And the judge got pissed.
Problem. Yes.
The judge like, look.
Yeah. Yeah.
This taking too long.
Yeah, it is taking too long. And so we're now before the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. The clock is ticking. This is a really critical point. If you care about HBCUs, then you have to care about this case and the outcome.
So so you say the clock is ticking, so what's the actual deadline?
We go back to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals likely in October, and
So you go back to the Fourth Circuit in October,
and a 3-judge panel will hear the case again and render a decision. But we don't need that.
So hold on. Let's walk through. So if you don't have a settlement, you go back in October.
And then the Fourth Circuit will issue its ruling. But we don't need that.
Now, when you say its ruling, what? Are they going to come up with a number?
No, they're going to come up with a decision on the merits of the case.
But they've already... Okay, I'm confused now.
I am too.
Haven't they already ruled?
They have ruled, and they told the parties, you should mediate this. Basically, like, you should...
So y'all won in 2013. It got appealed.
We got appealed. And the court hasn't issued its ruling. It said, go and mediate. Work this out.
Okay, hold on. So people who are watching, okay, so y'all won on the district level.
That's right.
They lost. They appealed.
That's right.
It went to the Fourth Circuit.
That's right.
The Fourth Circuit, y'all already had...
Yes.
Y'all already gone through all of the proceedings and everything. And the Fourth Circuit is like, okay, look, y'all go work this thing out before we rule.
Yes.
So if you don't get an agreement between now and, like has a date been set when you go back in October?
Not yet, but a date. Movement will happen in October, and we don't want that.
Right.
We are this close. What we need is political will from Governor Hogan to do the right thing.
And you need public pressure
right now.
And so, just so y'all understand, and look, I don't sit here and waste time with it. I told Tom Joyner, call for a day of unity and organize this whole deal in Annapolis and have Steve Harvey there, have Ricky Smiley there, have Russ Parr there, have every nationally syndicated radio show, mobilize people, drop 50 or 75,000 in Annapolis, and look, let the governor know, but also as a black woman, Adrian Moore, who's the Speaker of the House there. Who's the guy who's the Speaker of the head of the Senate?
Miller. I believe it's Ted Miller.
Senator Miller. I mean, and so, again, they could come to the table and say, okay, the number is 577. We'll agree to 577, which is $57 million each year, which means the schools will get about 11, 12 million bucks each additional year. That's what we're talking about here.
Right. And look, the traditionally white institutions in Maryland are swimming in resources, and we have
and also
to remember,
they ain't never had to sue.
That's right.
To get their money.
That's right.
No.
And we have to remember what got us here. And literally, the HBCUs in the 1970s were more racially diverse back then than they are today. They were able to attract more student applicants back then than they are today, and they did so because they offered up unique programs not offered up by any other university in the state. And what did the state do? They came in and dumped tons of money on the traditionally white schools, allowing them to set up competitive programs that doomed the HBCUs to failure. And this is the pattern that we see with respect to so many of our HBCUs across the country. Maryland knows that they've done wrong by the HBCUs. It's time for them to stop resisting. It's time for us to start speaking out. You can call Governor Hogan right now at 410-974-3901 and tell him to do right by the people of Maryland and to do right by his HBCUs.
All right, give the number again. So while you give the number, I'm about to send a text message right now to Derrick and Sharpton and Moriel. So go ahead and give the number again.
At 410-974-901. That is the number for Governor Hogan. Spread it far and wide. The message is do right by the people of Maryland. Do right by your HBCUs. And I just want to thank you, Roland, because this has been a 13-year battle, and you've followed this story every step of the way. The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law is deeply committed to ensuring the success of our nation's HBCUs, and you've helped to keep this story out at the forefront for Black people. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Again, folks, I'm going to let y'all know as we continue. We'll keep covering this story. We did reach out to the governor's office, and so, Governor Hogan, send somebody here. Oh, also, the dude who ran for Attorney General in Maryland, you came on his show, and you said you're going to be fighting for the HBCUs. I'm calling your ass back now that you won to come back, talk about this case. And then, and also, all you Black state legislators, I want to hear what y'all got to say, what pressure you putting on as well, because we shouldn't have to wait for a judicial ruling in October when it comes to the merits of this case. But the last thing, and I'm going to say it again, and I've given speeches about this all across the country. I've said this, I gave the Brotherhood speech at the Alpha Convention in Baltimore 2 years ago. I said this year at the Delta Convention that was in New Orleans. I said this at the AKA Convention when I was on up there last year, and I've said it to the rest of y'all. Divine Nine has 2 million members. If we got time to organize some bullshit-ass step shows and some probate shows,
Come on, Roland.
you can't tell me we can't organize to try to get $1 billion for HBCUs.
I like step show.
And there should be a collection. There should be a collection. There should be a grouping of people in a black and gold and purple and gold and red and white and all them colors moving on the state capitol. Because it's a waste of resources for us to meet. And by the way, that's Divine Nine. Prince Hall Masons, y'all too.
Yeah.
Eastern Star, y'all too. Sigma Pi Phi Boule, Ladies of Distinction, Jack and Jill. Who the hell I miss? The Links.
Oh, the missing links.
The Links, all y'all. It makes no sense to have national organizations and we're not using our collective power to change this. I can guarantee you that if Governor Hogan hears from 1 million black people between now and Friday, blowing up his phone line, blowing up their emails, and blowing up the phone lines and the emails of the House Speaker and the State Senate, and they say, oh my God, these black folks are coming after us, we better negotiate a deal. I don't want to hear no lip service. Yeah. I want to hear, oh no, we can't. All y'all got emails, and it's time for you to use collective power. Otherwise, stop having all these damn meetings, because if all you are doing is talking about what's happening on the inside of your organizations and you're not helping black folks externally, it's a waste of damn time.
Amen.
Are we clear? Kristen, go ahead.
In fairness, I will say that I have talked to Derrick Johnson and the NAACP and fully expect that they're going to be activating this week, but I'm glad that you're putting out the call to action to everyone. This is an issue that impacts Black America broadly and generally, and you are exactly right that if we all speak up now, that we can get over that finish line.
Get the money in Maryland.
Yeah.
Then you go get the money in North Carolina. Then you go get the money in Texas.
South Carolina.
Then you go get the money in Florida. Then, it's the same playbook.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Roland, the thing that bothers me the most about this is that the organizations you called out, our organization, everybody here on this panel belongs to one of them. We are people of privilege, and we choose not to allow our privilege to trickle down. I mean, we have had the benefit of college education, and we're ignoring our brothers and sisters who aren't having that. And so when you look at Maryland, and like you said, North Carolina, Texas, we can call the roll, we are in those legislatures. We are not doing a damn thing, excuse my language, a damn thing about it. We think it's okay. We have normalized inequality and inferiority.
But again, though, even if we're on the inside, you outside helps inside.
Yeah.
But inside can't just do it if nobody on the outside. And that's the problem. And I'm just simply, and there's no need for permission.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the way our organization is run, if the national president of Alpha Phi Alpha, Dr. Ward, presses a button and says to every chapter, do this, they do it.
Yes.
Same as Delta, same as AKAs. I'm like, use your power.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest problem, having these international organizations with national leadership, regional leadership, state leadership, grad chapters, undergrad chapters. We get our team programs. You have all that infrastructure, and it's just sitting there, not being activated, except when it's time for a regional or national convention.
Yep.
This is real money.
It is.
Real money. The AKAs raised $1 million for HBCUs in one day.
Oh.
Had Dr. Glover on the show, great job. We can get right here 500 to $1 billion with pressure if we actually use it. Kristen Clark, we appreciate it. Keep us apprised of what's going on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. That's my man Gerald Albright is going to be one of the headliners at the Life Lux Jazz Experience in Cabo, November 7th through the 11th. I will be there broadcasting Roland Martin Unfiltered. Boy, we're going to have a fantastic time at the Omnia Day Club, Los Cabos, nestled in the Sea of Cortez in Los Cabos, Mexico. Folks, it's going to be fantastic music and food and drink. It's going to be spa, health, wellness, all that fun stuff I ain't doing, but I'll be playing golf. So the second annual Life Lux Jazz Experience is going to be fantastic. Of course, we're going to have the Spirit of Jazz Gospel Brunch Jazz Sunset Cruise. Confirmed guests, comedian actor Mark Curry, Gerald Albright, as I said, Alex Bouillon, Raul Madon, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, my man Kirk Whalum, Average White Band, Donnie McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, Ernest Quarles, and more. For more information, go to lifeluxjazz.com, LIFELUXEJAZZ.com. That's LIFELUXEJAZZ.com. It's going to be fantastic. November 7th through the 11th. I want to see y'all there while everybody else is freezing. And on the East Coast and the Midwest, we're going to be enjoying the sun. So go ahead and get your package today. Book your ticket. And let's go to Cabo. Let's make it black as possible. All right? Looking forward to it. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.